an open-air cafe in Soho with a stunning view. As I parked the minivan on the street, I heard the voice of my daughter, Emily, who had arrived earlier. "Ah, that's my dad's van. He uses it for his business." Then, interrupting her, a raspy male voice chimed in. "How inappropriate to arrive in such a vehicle. Is your father a high school dropout working in a warehouse?" Emily looked taken aback by these remarks. The man with the raspy voice appeared to have indulged in a few drinks, smiling with a flushed face. It had been some time since I last met someone who found such tasteless jokes amusing. After putting a parking ticket on the minivan, I approached the man. Opening my jacket, which had been tailored just a couple of days ago, I extended my business card towards him with a friendly gesture. "Here, I'm the CEO of a company that generates $50 million in revenue annually." John looked surprised. He was frantically checking the company name on the business card on his phone. Understandable. In John's view, someone driving a minivan couldn't possibly be more successful than him. And so, I began sharing my life story, almost as if I was introducing myself. "My name is Tom, and I'm a 63-year-old business owner. The business has expanded considerably, and we now have a significant number of employees, but it was a long journey to reach this point where I could share my story. Let me take you back to my early days. Born in the 1960s as the son of a struggling textile mill worker in the Midwest, I endured a challenging childhood. At that time, affordable and durable cotton products were being imported from abroad in large quantities, leading to the decline of local mills. With such meager earnings, it was tough to provide for the family, and there were days when my father would catch a chicken that wandered into our yard for our meal that evening. I've had to do it a few times under my father's orders, and the sensation and sound still haunt me, making me reminisce about those times whenever I see chicken. Eventually, unable to make ends meet with just the mill's income, my parents started saying, "We're going to a community meeting," leaving me alone as they went out. They wouldn't return until late at night, and by morning, I'd find a stack of flyers by the door. They were invitations to join a new spiritual religious group. Looking back, it seems the incentive was paid by the group for recruiting new members. What began as a means of survival slowly consumed my parents' minds with the ideology. During every election, my mother would fervently say, with a fervent look, "Those who have faith will be saved. So, if you support this candidate, all will be well." Yes, by relinquishing your desires, you can find peace. So you should. Everything was like this. There's no way I could live a good life in a house like this. I needed to leave the house. I'm thinking of moving out. Why? Isn't it enough to be here? I can't stand it anymore. Is it a lack of faith? Did you pray today? Prayer keeps unnecessary thoughts at bay. I'm leaving anyway. With that, I packed my things and left. It was a night just before my high school graduation, at 18. The breeze was brisk. It's not that I had nowhere to go. I had noted down my uncle's address and phone number. My uncle, Steve, who lived in Nebraska and was a bachelor, had been concerned about our situation since I was young. He often said, "Call me if anything happens. I think I understand what you're going through." I dialed his number with shaking hands and heard my uncle's deep voice answer. "Hello, who is this?" "It's me, Tom." "Tom, what's going on at this time?" "Actually, I've left home." My uncle paused, seemingly in thought, but quickly responded, "Got it. Head over here. I've got you covered." Not long after, I took a local train to Nebraska and ended up staying with my uncle. He worked as an electrician and was usually out during the day. The house was cluttered with various tools and equipment like pliers and wrenches. Among these, a strange box-shaped device in the back of the room caught my attention. This device had knobs of different sizes. One day, while my uncle was out, I couldn't resist turning the knobs. Suddenly, A loud, unfamiliar noise, accompanied by intermittent beeps, filled the room. Interested? Whoa. I jumped, caught off guard by my uncle's voice from behind, and felt embarrassed as if I'd been caught in the act. However, my uncle looked at me with excitement. It's called ham radio. With this, you can reach out to people across the globe. Pretty cool, huh? With people all over the world. Yeah, exactly. You can talk to someone halfway around the world through invisible waves. If you're interested, I can teach you everything from the basics. From that point on, I was captivated by ham radio. Whether day or night, I stayed close to my uncle, intrigued by this novel device and the voices from distant lands. When he was away, I'd spend nights engrossed in radio chats, often not realizing dawn had broken. Around this time, I began assisting with my uncle's work. I'd accompany him in his minivan, traveling across Nebraska for various electrical tasks. Since the minivan lacked a car radio, my uncle would bring along a portable radio, using it to teach me various lessons during our rides. I learned many of life's important lessons during those conversations in the minivan. Remember, Tom, the key is to think clearly. No matter the challenge, assess the situation, pinpoint the issues, come up with theories, and test them out. Master this, and you'll hardly ever find yourself at a loss. Yet, my uncle, who lived by these words, met with a tragic accident at work. The details were vague, but it seemed he died trying to save a coworker who had slipped up. The grief and frustration were overwhelming. It was a cruel twist of fate that my uncle, a lifelong electrician, met his end due to electricity. With no other kin, I inherited his house and minivan. So, I was on my own once again. But this time was different from when I had left my family. I had acquired my uncle's electrical skills and, more importantly, his work ethic and passion. Finding work was easy. During that period, the semiconductor boom was in full swing. In the U.S., electrical industry was flourishing. I interviewed at several companies, and after demonstrating my skills, I was in high demand. Eventually, I joined the largest company everyone knew of, though looking back, that might have been a mistake. I adapted to the job within months. Inspecting parts on a conveyor belt was straightforward, nothing like the complexities of electrical work. But the real issue lay elsewhere. It was the constant berating and physical reprimands from the manager, Daniel. Daniel would often halt the production line in a foul mood and single me out. "Tom, over here." "Yes." "What's with the attitude? You seem disinterested in your work." "Yes, sorry. You might think this job's a no-brainer. Don't get ahead of yourself. I'm the one who hired you. You're not quite there yet." "Yes, sorry. I don't want your apologies. Show it through your actions," I was told, followed by a slap in the face. When things were going well, it would be 2 slaps back and forth. This had become the usual sequence of events. Still, the pay was good, so somehow I managed to keep working. There was another reason I managed to keep working. It was meeting a woman who was in charge of the factory's accounting at the time. Her name was Ashley. Ashley would subtly show concern for me right after I received a punch from Daniel, offering ointment discreetly so no one would see. "I always see what's happening. It must be hard." "No, I'm used to it. Plus, the pay is good. If I think of it as including compensation for the punches, it's bearable." "That's too harsh. Please don't overdo it." There was a time when I got a cut on my lip from a slap from Daniel, and Ashley gave me a handkerchief. Tucked inside the handkerchief was a note with her contact information and a message saying, "Please contact me anytime if there's anything I can do for you." My encounter with Ashley definitely brought some salvation. There's no doubt that she helped ease the depression I felt after my uncle passed away. But then, a decisive moment came. "Hey, who did this?" One day, Daniel stopped the production line and shouted loud enough for all the employees to hear. He was holding a part that was significantly more bent than a standard. If no one confesses now, I'll lay everyone out. I knew who had checked that part. It was a new coworker standing next to me, who was biting his lip and trembling as I glanced sideways. If I stayed silent, everyone present would definitely receive a slap. Thinking this, I instinctively raised my hand. It was me. What? I'm sorry, I missed it. You realize what you've done, right? Yes, I'm truly sorry. Daniel stood in front of me and slapped my cheek. Not satisfied with just that, he turned around and delivered a knee kick aimed at my solar plexus. Unable to breathe, I clenched my eyes shut, and tears naturally started to flow. Oh, crying now. Even now, you're playing the tragic hero. Well, with that face, you're too ugly for it anyway. With a victorious look, Daniel kicked me in the solar plexus with the tip of his shoe as I lay on the ground and then walked away. That night, as I was cleaning up alone, Ashley stayed until the end. Hi. Hello. Daniel is terrible, isn't he? He didn't have to say it like that. It's okay. It would have taken longer if things continued as they were. We were already behind schedule. You didn't actually do it, did you? Huh? I saw Bob, who works next to your line, inspecting parts unsteadily. Someone had to take the responsibility. But it didn't have to be you. It's okay. I won't be here much longer anyway. What do you mean? Maybe I was being self-destructive. But thinking about resigning was true. I'm thinking about leaving this company. There are more interesting things out there. I want to do what I love. Ashley was a woman who chose her words carefully. I think that's a wonderful idea. I want you to do what you love. I believe in you, and I think you can trust yourself too. But I'll be lonely if you're gone, Ashley said, lowering her face. If you're willing, why don't we quit the company together, and then let's start a new factory of our own. Even in the dim factory, I could see Ashley's face flush with color. If we could do that, I'd be so happy. Thus, Ashley and I decided to resign from the company and start a new factory together. Then came 1989. The year the Berlin Wall fell, Ashley and I got married. As an aside, the year after I left, an assault case occurred at the factory, and that factory manager was apparently arrested. It might have been a matter of time, sooner or later. In 1990, Ashley and I established a factory that produced semiconductor components. I took on the roles of both salesman and technician. Ashley handled all accounting tasks. However, at first, the business didn't go smoothly, and we could barely make ends meet through the electrical work I took on as an individual, rather than through the factory's orders. It was no surprise. The American semiconductor industry, led by companies like Intel and Texas Instruments from the 70s to the 80s, was conceding its position to giants like TSMC in Taiwan and Samsung in Korea by the 90s, showing a downward trend. Considering the cost of assembly, it was impossible for a fledgling small to medium-sized company to afford the equipment needed to produce cutting-edge components. So we specialized in manufacturing parts with a focus on technical skill rather than production capacity. I never thought the skills I acquired in electrical work would come in handy here. Then, whether it was due to that strategy or just sheer luck, orders gradually started coming in from companies that had heard about the skilled craftsmen at our factory. It might have been the most fulfilling days of my life. I would wake up early, go to the factory, and silently grip the soldering iron by myself. Or, I would face the machines that polished the components. I would come home late at night, barely eat, and then collapse into sleep alongside Ashley. On our rare days off, I would devote myself to the amateur radio I inherited from my uncle. I think Ashley was very understanding to accept a husband like me. In the midst of our non-stop daily routine, Ashley and I were blessed with a child. It's a girl. Hey, what do you think we should name her? How about Emily? It sounds good. Yes. And so, we named our newborn girl Emily. Emily was born healthy, but it might have been around this time Ashley became ill. I'm sorry to say, but your wife's condition has reached stage 3. At this stage, surgery is not very effective. Ashley had suddenly complained of an unusual abdominal pain while at work and was urgently admitted to a nearby hospital. When I heard the news while out, I rushed to the hospital. I remember Dr. Davis's voice sounding unusually clinical as he explained the situation to me. Dr. Davis informed me that Ashley was suffering from late-stage pancreatic cancer. Can Ashley live? I can't say for certain. The 5-year survival rate for stage 3 pancreatic cancer patients is about 7%. Why Ashley? Dr. Davis didn't answer my question, but instead started writing something on the chart and preparing for the next patient. I'm sorry, I've caused such a fuss. When I visited with our little Emily, Ashley was lying on the hospital bed, smiling weakly. Dressed in hospital clothes, petite Ashley looked even smaller. Don't apologize, you've done nothing wrong. But I still have unfinished accounting work at the factory. Don't worry about it, it's okay. When a loved one falls ill, one realizes the preciousness of everyday life. Ashley's illness made me realize how happy I had been. But why did it have to be Ashley? Emily, make sure you support your dad properly. Even young Emily seemed to understand the situation and smiled innocently, saying, yes. And Tom, believe in yourself. I believe that what you're trying to do is right. Stop it, don't be so formal. No, I want to say it while I can. Ashley's face was serious. Her battle with illness did not last long. Perhaps that's what Ashley wanted. But now, there's no way to know. Ashley's face was peaceful in her final moments. Ashley's glasses, which she wore in life, were placed in her urn, and I felt I had lost everything. Had everything I had done been a mistake? I couldn't save Ashley. I had forced her to struggle. Perhaps she wasn't happy. For a while, I couldn't focus on anything, not even my hobbies like tinkering with machines or amateur radio. The world seemed gray. Suddenly, while looking at the factory machinery, I wondered what would happen if I stuck my head inside. Then, those machines I had once loved and immersed myself in appeared devilish to me. During those gloomy days, I started to drown in alcohol. I couldn't move my body even though I needed to work. I spent days drinking from morning and zoning out. My savings ran out, and I borrowed money from a consumer loan machine that had become popular without telling Emily, who was attending school. I was surprised at how easily I could borrow money because my credit was good, which made me feel even more lost. I even considered gambling with the money as a faster way out. Or I contemplated the worst-case scenarios. When I returned home in a daze, the noise from the amateur radio was on. Perhaps the switch had been accidentally turned on. But when I went to the room with the radio, I found Emily, who was supposed to be at school, standing in front of the desk looking apologetic. I just touched it a little, and it wouldn't stop. I found Emily irresistibly dear at that moment. As soon as I thought that, tears overflowed. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to do anything, even though I have you. But Emily didn't dwell on my sentimentality and kept staring at the radio. Dad, what is this? Oh, this is a magical machine that lets you talk to people all over the world. With people all over the world. Yes, you can have conversations with invisible signals all the way to the other side of the earth. If you want to know more, I'll teach you from scratch. Really, teach me. Listening to the sounds coming from the radio, Emily's eyes sparkled, and I saw my own reflection in her. Yes, Uncle Steve. I remembered my uncle. What my uncle had taught me in the pickup truck. Listen, Tom, the key is to use your head calmly, no matter how tough the situation. Analyze the current state, identify the issues, formulate hypotheses, and test them. If you can do that, you won't easily be defeated. The grayness of my daily life seemed to regain its color bit by bit. From that moment, I temporarily suspended my electrical contracting work and shifted the core business of my company to electronic component manufacturing. I set my sights on computer components. I believed that as household computers became more common, there would come a time when everyone would carry a small computer with them. Although we had fewer than 10 employees, they all respected my decision. About a decade after we decided to shift our operations, my factory had made a name for itself in the industry for its high technical capabilities. The rapid growth we experienced in this short period was significantly influenced by the overall growth of the tech industry, especially with the emergence of cell phones globally. We had been developing small components for computers, but we adapted them for cell phones due to the tremendous demand for these parts. At that time, my daughter, Emily, was about to enter high school. She had been studying at a local public middle school and stood out academically even there. As a parent, I was proud that Emily consistently scored perfect marks on her tests. One day, Emily brought home a brochure from a high school. "Dad, actually, I want to go to this school." Looking at the brochure, it was a prestigious private high school affiliated with a well-known university. I was happy that my daughter was thinking about her life on her own. At the same time, I thought that perhaps it was also a parent's duty to support their child through such exams. Why not? Go ahead and apply. Really? Can I? Is there a reason you shouldn't? But what about the tuition fees? Understanding Emily's concern, I reassured her. Don't worry about the money. Times have changed. The economy is good now. One child's tuition fee is nothing to worry about. Emily's face lit up with genuine happiness upon hearing this. And so, Emily successfully passed the high school entrance exams. But this also meant that for the next few years, we would be spending a significant amount annually on tuition fees. I braced myself for this. However, my worries were unfounded. One day, as I was heading to work, one of the employees was frantically on the phone. I wondered if it was another strange complaint, but it turned out to be extremely positive news. "What's going on? Mr. Johnson, it's incredible. Please don't be shocked. A major international company wants to use the parts we made in their new cell phones." What? That company, now a household name in the tech industry, was only known by a few enthusiasts at the time. Yet, being their supplier would be a game changer for us. What did they say on the phone? They said they'll be in the US soon and want to meet in person to discuss. We can sit around. Let's get ready. Things went smoothly, and I formally signed a contract with that company. The contract was worth millions of dollars. This sum was staggering, but knowing I could provide for Emily brought immense joy. The idea that something I created was in the hands of so many people still amazed me. "Uncle Steve, I did it. Ashley, we did it." I reported in front of their graves that all our hardships had finally paid off. I couldn't help but feel as if both of them were smiling down on me. When the company was on track, Emily, now a university student, told me she was dating someone, the heir to a prominent bank. I thought I had to dress appropriately for the meeting. I came in my uncle's old pickup, which is more valuable to me than any luxury car. So I was a bit upset. Sorry about that. After finishing my story, Emily's future father-in-law, John, looked bewildered. He seemed desperate to save face. Such a good story can't be true in real life. If you think it's a lie, feel free to check. It's all on our website. When I said that, John started fiddling with his cell phone. It seemed he soon realized the truth. John visibly deflated, losing his previous bravado. He might have acted like he was the CEO of a mega bank, but I knew he was just a branch manager. He probably tried to puff himself up more than usual to show his status. To deliver the final blow to John, I added, "The cell phone you're holding, it's from that well-known international company, isn't it? That means it probably contains parts made by our company. Thank you for using it." After those words, John never spoke again. I might have talked a bit too much. But surprisingly, it seemed that the rest of the family took it well, except for John. However, Emily seemed displeased and cautioned me on the ride home. You didn't have to tell them everything. Really. Sorry about that, but isn't it also wrong to speak like he did? If we let that pass, it's like denying your mother's existence too. No, I was happy you talked about it, but you didn't have to bring up my childhood stories there. Emily blushed with embarrassment. Is that so? But for me, it's important. Uncle Steve, Ashley, and you. I wanted to properly convey the story of the people who supported my life. We both fell silent. The good thing about the old pickup is that the engine noise drowns out the silence. The smell of oil and the sound of the engine always bring me peace. I'm thinking of calling off the engagement with that guy. Really. His father was like that, but the son seemed earnest. Yeah, he is earnest, but sometimes he treats me like a secretary or a housemaid, asking me to fetch things, memorize his schedule. I don't want to do that. Emily looked downcast. Besides, I actually want to become an engineer and not finish college. I want to create new technologies to make people happy. But he doesn't seem to like the idea of me being a researcher. Maybe because I'm a woman. Live the life you love. I remembered what my wife, Ashley, once told me. Believe in yourself. Do what you love. I believe what you want to do is right. I somehow understood how Ashley must have felt when she said that to me. Time passed, and as expected, Emily's engagement was called off. The other family must have been upset about losing face. Emily seemed secretly relieved to report the cancellation, which I thought was for the best. By societal standards, one might say an opportunity for a splendid marriage was lost, but true happiness lies beyond that. Emily later graduated from college and went on to graduate school in Germany. I was prepared, but it was still hard to say goodbye. We won't be apart forever, so don't look so gloomy. But still, it's hard when my daughter leaves home. Okay, I'm off then. Take care. Call me if anything happens. Waving, Emily passed through the gate to board her flight to Germany. Months after our farewell, which I had bravely faced, I felt a deep sadness in the emptiness of Emily's room. To distract myself from the loneliness, I turned to my usual companion, the amateur radio. This long-standing habit, starting from the time I moved in with my uncle, had become a part of me. Hello CQ, hello CQ, hello CQ, this is JA4TOC. If anyone can hear me, please respond. Over. Soon, I received a call from a station in Germany. It was a woman's voice. Hello CQ, hello CQ, hello CQ, this is W2JA7KR, go ahead. I wondered when she had gotten her radio license. At first, I thought my loneliness made me mishear. But there was no mistake. I responded with all my being, not to miss a single word from my beloved daughter's voice coming from this magical box. W2J7KR, thank you for your response. I'm so glad you're doing well. With love from your father.